All right, Shalom. I want to start off by giving all praise, honor, and glory due to Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahweh Shai, Bahashem, Rakakwadash. We'd like to give double honors unto the apostles and the elders of Great Millstone, who we learned this truth from. And I'd like to say peace and salutations unto the hopefully elect. And today, I'm just going to do a quick lesson, on, the raid that took place in Chicago the other day, and I just simply entitled this, We Told You. Starting from the apostles and elders and the bishops on down, of Great Millstone, we told you that these things were coming, but yet you didn't believe us, because in Chicago, around 3 a.m., the infamous time, 3 a.m., a particular area in Chicago, was raided, and they were arresting people, and mostly who? Southern Kingdom this time, because a lot of you Jakes, and when I say Jakes in particular, I'm talking about the tribe of Judah, you made fun of your brethren, the Northern Kingdom, Issachar in particular, for getting rounded up and thrown into, these different concentration camps or being deported back to, whichever land they came from. It was funny then, now it's not so funny. We told you, Northern Kingdom first, Southern Kingdom the worst, So again, man, this is the beginning stages of Jacob's trouble. We've been telling you this, man, that these things were coming. And then they're starting where? In Chicago. Well, no, they really started in D.C., but again, Trump, or number 47, he wasn't playing, when he said that he was going to do these things. So technically, America is a police state right now, because once the National Guard is out, you're up under a police state. Now all hell hasn't broken all the way loose, but again, man, he's setting up, these troops in these different cities, to pretty much keep the people up under control, which we'll see how long that lasts or what else takes place, because we're in October now. So we have, November, December, according to the Gregorian calendar, just 2 months left, before the year is out, but these things we've been telling you, we've been warning you about. We've been telling you that, troops will be on the streets. We've been telling you that, the United States government, and in particular as military, will come up against, you people. But what? You didn't believe us. Especially you Israelites, man, you didn't believe us. Now you're starting to see it, So I'm just going to grab a couple of scriptures. Lord willing, this lesson is edifying and straight to the point, and I'm going to start with the book of Revelation, chapter 2 and verse 10. And it says, Fear none of those things which thou shalt suffer. Behold, the devil shall cast some of you into prison, that ye may be tried, and ye shall have tribulation 10 days. Be thou faithful unto death, and I will give thee a crown of life. And right, man, this is mainly geared towards the elect, because we know, the men of the Lord, we know that these things are coming, that this may be some of our fate, that we may be rounded up and thrown into a concentration camp, which is why, Yahweh Shai himself, he's telling us to fear none of these things, man, because we know that this is part of Esau's plan. He is going to round a lot of us up, and throw us into these different prisons, to torture us, to do these different things, ultimately to behead us, for refusing, the mark of the beast, which is the RFID microchip, But again, those of you that aren't in the know, the 2/3, we've been telling you these things, man. We've been telling you that, whoever the president was, whoever that cruel Lord was, pursuant to Isaiah 19:4, which we believe to be number 47, we're seeing that because look at the things that happened, man. They raided, these apartment buildings, at 3 a.m. They're throwing flashbangs, and now they're just detaining anyone. They say it doesn't matter even, if it's not related to immigration, if you have a warrant, that you wouldn't be let go, So again, he said that, the one Jake said, we're under siege, talking about them out there in Chicago. And they are, and not just, Chicago, D.C., and then we'll see what happens in Memphis, if the troops aren't down there already. So it says, what does under siege mean? It says, surrounded with soldiers or police officers in a siege. And again, man, and then it gives the example already. It says the city was under siege and food was getting scarce. And that's what's about to happen. Food is getting scarce, because these different farmers, they aren't able to, grow their food, or there isn't anyone out there to, collect the crops, to bring in the food. Or again, a lot of livestock is being killed and a lot of farmland is being bought up by, Gil Bates, So food is going to be scarce out here. There is going to be a famine, But the main point being is that we warned you Israelites of the things that were coming to the planet Earth. We've been telling you that these different troops were going to be sent out to round a lot of you up, even some of us. We've been warning you. Now we'll add this as well that, we told you niggas out there, but may the Lord be with the Chicago brethren, the elders and other brethren, man. May the Lord be with you, but to you 2/3, man, hey, so be it. Whatever happens to you happens. But may the Lord cover those brothers, man. But again, the warning has went out and it's still going out. But we've been telling you that your enemy is ready to come up against you, that they have waged war against us, because there's a matter of time before, the National Guard is out here in Detroit, because a lot of you niggas that really think you stand a chance against them, think again. Or just keep that same energy, because once they get their marching orders to, execute you on sight, we'll see how tough a lot of you niggas are during that time, But we've been telling you, man, Jacob's trouble is not coming. It's here, and we're starting to see it unfold. So I'm going to get the book of Jeremiah chapter 30 and verse 6. And it says, ask ye now and see whether a man does travail with child. Wherefore do I see every man with his hands on his loins, as a woman in travail, and all faces are turned into paleness. And the events that are about to take place on the earth are going to be so horrific that men are going to be afraid, man. And if men are going to be afraid, how much more the women? Because it's giving you a vivid description how afraid men are going to be. They're going to be like a woman in travail when she is about to give birth. Because when a woman is in her 9th month, about to deliver her child, she has birth pains, man. And the closer she gets to, giving birth, those birth pains, those contractions, they get more and more intense, and that's how a lot of you men are going to be. You're going to be afraid. You're going to hold your stomachs because you're going to be so afraid, man. This is about to be the worst time upon the earth ever in history. Verse 7, it says, alas, for that day is great, so that none is like it. It is even the time of Jacob's trouble, but he shall be saved out of it. And right, man, Jacob's trouble is here. We're just seeing it slowly unravel, But again, it's going to be a matter of time before it's not just going to be, certain cities around America. It's going to be nationwide, every major city. Troops are going to be there, policing the place, because again, where these particular cities where these troops are is technically up under martial law. It hasn't been officially declared, but just know that it's coming. We're telling you this, So if you take heed, then, you'll already know. But if you don't take heed, you can't say you didn't know. Because again, we told you that these things were coming, So we're going to get the book of Daniel, chapter 12 and verse 1. And as you can see, the subtitle reads the time of the end, because that's the time that we're in. We're in the last days. We're at the end of Esau Edom's rulership, because once Esau Edom's kingdom goes down, guess what? Our Lord's kingdom, the kingdom of heaven, the kingdom of Yasha Allah, will be risen up, man. Just going to quote it, just like it says in 2nd Esdras chapter 6 and verse 9, Esau is the end of the world and Jacob is the beginning of it that followeth. And right, Esau is the end of the world, you know, because we're seeing the end of this man's world take place. So what? He's going to go all out because he has the mentality that if I can't rule, no one else can. Hence the reason why he also has these nukes on the earth, you know. So this is Daniel chapter 12 and verse 1. And it says, "And at that time shall Michael stand up, the great prince, which standeth for the children of thy people. And there shall be a time of trouble, such as was since there was a nation, even to that same time. And at that time thy people shall be delivered, everyone that should be found written in the book." And right, man, it's going to be so bad upon the earth that Michael the Archangel is going to have to step in on our behalf to help us, man, you know, and which he will. You know, Michael the Archangel and the other angels, you know, once our Lord Yahweh Shah returns, you know, they're going to deliver us, Lord willing, I myself, you know, and the other brethren out there that are sincerely laboring, you know, Lord willing, we be of the elect, you know, because none of us know, you know, but that's, you know, the same thing that's reiterated in Jeremiah 30 and 7, and the same thing that's spoken of here in Daniel 12 and 1. It says, everyone that should be found written in the book, which is who? The elect, you know, that's that he that should be saved out of it in Jeremiah 30 and 7. Everyone that should be found written in the book, you know, here in Daniel 12 and 1, it's talking about the elect, you know, the 144,000 and the 1/3, you know, men, women, and children, you know, the remnant, they're going to be saved, you know, from these particular things that are going to come upon the earth while the rest of our people suffer, you know, because the warning went out. But what? They didn't take heed to that warning. And again, obviously, those jakes were unaware because we know, you know, those of us that know that once these troops get sent out to come and get us, that's around about the time that they're going to come after us, you know, 2, 3 in the morning, you know, roughly about 2 o'clock in the morning. I said to 2, Salaki, about 3, you know, 3 o'clock in the morning, you know, because again, 3 in the morning, you know, you're usually, you know, sleep, you know, you're out. But what? That's when he's going to send these troops after us, man, you know, very late / early in the morning, you know. And what did they say? You know, the woman said that, you know, they came and raided, you know, their place at about 2, 3 in the morning, you know. So just understand that once these troops come after us, you know, and some of us, excuse me, are in our homes, that's around about the time that they're going to come after us. Excuse me, you know. But again, to you 2/3, man, we told you. We gave you the warning. We told you that your enemy is going to come after you. And yet you didn't believe us. But it's okay because, again, we did our part by giving you the warning, by giving you the proper warning, you know. So your blood is off of our hands if and when anything happens to you. Well, not if, but when these things start to happen to you. So it's the book of Revelation, chapter 12 and verse 12. It says, "Therefore rejoice, ye heavens, and ye that dwell in them. Woe to the inhabitants of the earth and of the sea, for the devil is come down unto you, having great wrath, because he knoweth that he hath but a short time." And right, you know, Esau, Edom is starting to come down with great wrath, man. And we're just seeing bits and pieces of it. You know, when number 47 started with DC, you know, those Jakes, you know, they were caught off guard by it. When he told you that he was going to do this, you know, he's letting you know that he's coming after you, that he's waging war against you Israelites, you so-called Negroes, Latinos, and Native Americans. You know, he is doing any and everything he can to come up against us, you know, ultimately to, just like it says in Psalms 83, to cut us off from being a nation, you know, because again, the nation of Edom, the so-called white man, is your enemy. And a lot of you still haven't realized this yet, you know. They're not your friend. They're here to destroy you. They're trying to destroy you, you know. This isn't a joke, man. So again, seeing that, and they even said that children, you know, were arrested. But again, they're not going to care. You know, they're not going to care. because Esau, Edom is the devil, man. So this is just a precursor of things that are about to come, because again, we're telling you this is not a joke at all, man. And again, it's a horrific thing, but at the same time, we told you these things were coming, So I'll just grab a couple more since I'm in Second Esdras, the 16th chapter. You know what I'm going to grab? Second Esdras 15 to 17, just grabbing the main points, which this is a good chapter, but Second Esdras 15 to 17, it says, a man shall desire to go into a city and shall not be able. And what is that? It's martial law. A man isn't going to be able to travel. We aren't going to be able to freely travel, just like we can now. You won't be able to go into the neighboring city or even to the next state because there's going to be military roadblocks set up, and also the digital infrastructure, the digital Slovakia, the digital infrastructure is being set up, So just like over there in London, if they don't have that digital ID, then they won't be able to work. And it's starting over there in Europe, but eventually it's going to be that same way here in America, And if I'm not mistaken, I forget who. It may have been, Gil Bates, if not him, someone. But they want to, pretty much do away with cell phones. And what are they trying to replace cell phones with? The RFID microchip, So, again, we're blowing that trumpet. We're letting you know that these things are coming. So, then I'm going to grab these last two scriptures and then that'll be it. This is the book of Second Esdras, chapter 16 and verse 70. It says, for there shall be in every place and in the next cities a great insurrection upon those that fear the Lord. So again, the madman number 47 is going to send these troops after us, and there's going to be an insurrection because, again, people are going to rebel against the government, because of the things that are happening. So while this government shutdown is taking place, we'll see how long, it lasts, before the effects of it start to take place. Just like, with the tariffs, people are starting to feel the effects of it, man. The prices of things have increased because of it, But people are going to rebel, which is going to do what? Give number 47 the green light to declare martial law, which is eventually going to lead to this. Verse 71, it says, they shall be like madmen, sparing none, but still spoiling and destroying those that fear the Lord. And right, man, you clearly heard, the Eve, the heavier set woman, say, she's seen one of the troops, say F those kids, because again, they're not going to give a damn, about, young children, women, whether you're young or old, they're not going to give a damn, because again, their only orders is going to be either to haul you off to a concentration camp or to execute you on sight. And she better be lucky that, that wasn't the orders that they got, because again, they were sure they were damn ready, And that's just letting you know she should have known right then and there. You heard one of the troops, 9 times out of 10, he was an Edomite man that said F those kids, which of course, man, he's the devil. Why wouldn't he say that? But again, once they get loose, man, again, they're not going to spare you. They're not going to give a damn if you're young, especially young women, just like it says in this, just like it says in verse 33 in this chapter, man, you women are going to mourn. Why are you going to mourn? Because again, your helpers, you're not going to have any help. A lot of you that have, husbands, boyfriends, which is no such thing as a boyfriend, but they have men, your men are going to die. Whether they get sent off to fight during World War III, or they either die of the famine, or they get put to death by the sword, or however the Lord does it, But a lot of you women are going to be left defenseless out here, So again, now would be the time to get right, man. We're going to keep warning you because it's our job. The elect, are going to hear this warning, take heed, and, be spiritually prepared for the hell that's coming. But, you 2/3, you're just going to disregard the warning that we're telling you. Some of you may hear it, but overall, you don't understand, the severity of the situation that we're in. We're surrounded. We can't go anywhere, because eventually you won't be able to leave, whatever particular city you're in. Why? Because the military will be everywhere, So again, just wanted to do a quick lesson on that, to blow the trumpet to, just let you know again, man, we're here. We're here. Jacob's trouble is beginning, and we're starting to see it slowly unfold, So Lord willing, this lesson was edifying. I want to give all praise, honor, and glory due to Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahweh Shai, Bahashem, Rakakwadash. I'd like to give double honors unto the apostles and the elders of Great Millstone, who I learned this truth from. And I'd like to say peace and salutations unto the hopefully elect. Till next time I say, Shalom.